Hi, everybody on here. And I had really hoped I was going to make it outside this month, but there's a storm coming in where I'm at. And so I had to cancel any plans to camp and get a room someplace. So here I am. I've got a beautiful background from one of the places I was camping not too long ago. And so here I am getting this video out again from a hotel room. It's all good, right? Hey, for you that don't know what my work is about, right here, the code journey. Oh, maybe I can get it, maybe I can't. We'll see. There we go. The Code Journey, a daily guide for life on Earth. This is the 2023 version. 2024 is out. You can check out this work, by the way, over on my website at compassioncodes.com. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like the channel, or like the playlist that it's on, so you can get specifically these videos that I put out each month on here. And these are to provide insights based on where the code influences are at a given time. Now, a couple of months ago, I did do a video about relationships and connections and the important value of that. So you can always check that out as well. But this month, I really want to look at having and maintaining our friendships and relationships in our life, because so many times we get into it. And one of the things I've noticed is I've seen a lot of stress and a lot of tension come up in friendship connections, in relationships, and even among people who have known each other for quite a while. Some people not knowing each other that long, some people knowing each other a really long time. And this tension seems to be rising up. And I wanted to address this because in October, one of the things that we see in the codes is this attempt to divide people. And if relationships and strong friendships can be divided, it will really break down the soul and the spirit energy that we have to work with in the world. It actually will start to create a disconnect from the soul or from God energy. And I think that's really important for us to keep in mind and to consider, because we don't want to allow that to happen. Instead, we really want to think about, well, where can we come together with each other? Where can we find our common ground? How can we move forward and let our differences work with each other, work in a factor of harmonizing with each other, so that we can actually develop strength between each other, build on what we don't have, instead of allowing that to be torn apart. So we really want to pay attention. A lot of times this happens because narratives come up in the news, or people start talking about a particular thing, and then the next thing you know, everybody's in a big argument about it. But even just stress and tension alone can come up in relationships and partnerships and friendships and things like this. So we want to take the time to be conscious. When we start to feel that tension coming up, when we start to feel ourselves in battle with each other, that's the time for us to really take a step back, go into observation, and take a look at what is actually happening in this situation. What is the truth? Where am I contributing to this separation and this division and this conflict? And where am I trying to resolve it? And knowing that for you, knowing that for the other person, and that will help to open up some basic conversation or discourse with them in things. Now, one of the things that is happening where I see a lot of division that comes up is one or both people are wanting everything to be their way. They want everything to happen the way that they want it to happen. They're not getting everything or certain things that they want. And so we want to look at that, because when we talk about a true friendship, we talk about a true partnership or a true relationship in our life, in whatever capacity that is in, there's got to be some give and take. It's not all about everybody supporting us, but it's also about us supporting them in things. And sometimes we've got two different focuses, and we need to learn how we can support each other. And part of that means a little give and take. That means there may be things that we are going to have to let go of that we want, and there will have to be things that they have to let go of when they want. And when we get to those points where either us or the other person are not willing to make any kind of meeting ground to work through things, then we have to really stop and consider that and say, how can we find a reasonable meeting ground in things? And I think this is really important to the survival and the maintenance of a relationship, because when we first get in connections with people, things seem very exciting. We're learning a lot about them. We're learning who they are, what they've been through in life, and it all is kind of like a honeymoon phase, you know. It's like the honeymoon phase of a marriage in a sense. And then as day-to-day life sits in and the relationship builds and builds and builds over time, you know, sometimes, yes, that gets stronger, but then sometimes, just like after the honeymoon phase wears off in a marriage, you start to feel yourself getting irritated by small things, by little things. And we really have to decide, you know, how important is this thing that we're getting irritated over? How important is it for us to truly have what we want in something? Obviously, it's always important in some way, but is it worth being in conflict over? And that's the real question, because a lot of times we perceive somebody, you know, when we get into insecure spaces, when we start lacking our confidence, when we have chaos come up, when we don't feel well, all kinds of things can come in and make us feel like other people around us are dominating us or controlling us or getting everything they're wanted, and then we're not getting anything. And, you know, 99% of the time, that's really not true. And so when we start to look at these things, we want to take a look at, we don't have to, but it's a good idea to take a look at really what is of true importance and what is a want that we have. Because there's some things, this comes back to some things that I've talked about in previous videos, of looking at where are your negotiables and your non-negotiables. Okay, non-negotiables are things that put your health at risk. For example, you know, hard to say exactly what that is. Off the top of my head, you know, I could say, you know, well, you know, somebody may not want to bungee jump or something like that. And, you know, it could be a health risk for them for whatever reason. Maybe they've had whiplash in the past, so bungee jumping would not be good on their body. So that would become a non-negotiable, for example. Something that requires you to sacrifice your integrity is a non-negotiable in there. So something that requires you to disregard where your trust has been broken is a non-negotiable in there. So really looking at that. But that being said, sometimes our trust feels broken with somebody, and it hasn't necessarily really been broken. But again, if we're coming from that space of not being really confident at a particular time, we all go in and out it. Doesn't matter who we are or how evolved we are on our path. We all go in and out of these phases of feeling confident or unconfident in things. And so taking a look at that, I think, is really important. And negotiables are things like, I do have to go to the store, but I don't have to go today. I could do that the next day or the following day. Negotiables are like, I would have liked to have, you know, a nice big healthy salad for dinner, but my body is needing something else, or their body is needing something else. So we're going to fix a really nice, you know, broth soup with veggies or something else, as opposed to that salad, because their body needs that more than it needs the salad. These types of things, you know, these become negotiables for us. And so we really want to consider about where are we willing to give up some of the things that we want for the sake of the relationship. And we have to be careful because this can cross a lot of very fine lines, because I can already hear it in people. It's like, yeah, but then I'm enabling them to have everything that they want. Then I'm enabling them to, you know, to walk all over me and take advantage of me. And that's not the case. We can hold our boundaries again uh, with things that are truly important, that are truly needs for us, and say that's not something I can, let go of. That's not something that I can give on, because it does have a direct impact on me in some way that greatly has a lot of effect on me. So it's like I couldn't give in and say, well, yeah, I'll do a 10-mile hike with you, because what that would do to my body would be absolutely devastating, for example. But I could say, but I'm open to walking a little bit every day if we can break that 10 miles up, as opposed to doing it in one, you know, specific moment or something like that in there, and do that. So there are different things, or maybe I don't participate in that thing with you, but how about if I participate in this other thing, because I do want to support you, I do want to do things with you together. So again, finding some of the shared ground. And likewise, if the relationship or partnership or friendship is a true friendship, others will also make sacrifices to hold that connection. But it's very important that we don't abuse that. And again, we don't fall in the patterns of expecting them to always be making the sacrifices or always be giving things up for us. And so I encourage you to take a really close look at this, because especially as we move forward and when we go through hard times, which hard times are in our world right now, we need some strong and valuable relationships and partnerships and friendships in our life. These are very, very important things to see us through the turbulence and the turmoil. And I have times where I will look at it, and I have certain friends, for example, that I know they're not going to call me unless they're really hitting a critical point, and they've learned with me that they can say, look, I'm in a bad space. I need a friend to hug right now. I need company right now. And even though it's maybe not a convenient time for me, I will make the time for them, because I know they're in that critical space. So I will actually maybe sacrifice something I want or give up something that I want to be there for them. Now, here again, I have to be careful, because I need to balance that and make sure that when I do that, I'm doing it because it's a true need, and not just somebody who's trying to grab my time or persuade me or manipulate me in some way. And that can be a tricky balance to find at times, but you do learn. Part of that is a learning process with people, and part of it is just getting to know the person more and who they are. And I don't think we always take the time for that. We don't always take the time to look from their perspective, what they're going through. And there are many times that we tend to get hardcore on something that really isn't that important, that really isn't, it really is a negotiable in a sense. And when we do that, we want to take, again, a very close look at ourselves and say, well, where am I feeling unsecure or insecure, that I'm having this need to try to exert power and control over things? And sometimes there are going to be times that maybe we can't come to an agreement on something. And we might have to say, well, you're going to have to go do that thing and I'll go do this thing. Or simply, we may have something going on that's so critical that we just can't be there for somebody for some reason. I know, for example, today I had a whole bunch of messages coming in from people, and people trying to contact me and needing things and needing information. But I'm trying to drive and get through a storm and trying to handle things and dealing with a lot of unexpected things in my own circumstances, dealing with injuring my head and dealing with having whiplashed my neck at the same time in the process of that. And, coming around to these different things that I just had to put everybody on hold, Now, as people start to realize what I was dealing with and realizing that I was up against storm weather and heavy rains and, my safety was at jeopardy, they can become very forgiving of that. But that's also because on a day-to-day basis, on a regular basis, I've laid the foundation to let them know that I will be there as much as I can. And so if I am not there, there's probably something seriously happening in my life that I'm not responding to them for some reason. And of course, when I'm on the road, there's a lot of times I just can't respond. I might be in a long stretch of driving and I can't stop and text or send messages or look at things or stuff like that, because I just don't do that when I'm driving. So when I have these long drives that are 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours down the road. But here again, it's all about what I have established along the way. And I also established the patterns for myself of where my boundaries are. I don't look at my phone after a certain time of night, or I have times that I just set it down when I really need to do something to honor myself. But I've laid the foundation with them that, yes, I'm there. You could trust me to be there, but also laying down some of those boundaries of, but I'm probably not going to answer you at a certain time of night, or when my head isn't clear, or in certain places where my phone reception isn't good, or my phone batteries running low, or things like that. And this sets a great working relationship, great friendships, great partnerships with people, because they know I will get back to them in a very reasonable amount of time. And here again, they can respect me more and honor what my needs are, honor the things that I want, um, because I lay those foundations. They again, they know that I've established that pattern that, yes, I will be there unless I have something going on that really requires my attention. So this give and take that happens in relationships is so important, and we really want to take a look at it, and we really want to say, where can I let go of getting everything I want in order to maintain this relationship? And again, I know you can do that without allowing others to take advantage of you. Again, look at it and say, well, am I always the one making the sacrifices? And sometimes it can feel that way, but it may not be the truth. So we really want to take a look at that. And if that is the case, we may need to say something once in a while and say, you know, I give in to you 9 out of 10 times. And this is one time that I would really like for you to give in for me a little bit. And so again, finding that balance, we don't have to allow ourselves to be taken advantage of. Just hold your boundaries, but also look at, where can I make the sacrifices, or where can I give up something that I want? Because in the end, a lot of the times that the things we're bickering over, the things that we're trying to hold tight to, a lot of them actually aren't that important in the scheme of things. Whether we go to this restaurant or that restaurant really isn't worth losing a friendship over. It's really not worth losing a relationship over. But again, finding that balance and saying, okay, we'll do what you want this time. Maybe the next time I can pick the restaurant. Maybe next time we can do what I like. But then again, of course, as the situation comes around, balancing the needs of the moment, because you might want something really spicy, but that may be a time where they're not doing great, or their digestion is off or something, and you need to go a little milder on things. So here again, we always got to look at what are the components in the situation, step back a little bit from our emotions and our feelings, and really look at the reality of the situation and look at the truth of things. So that's my tips. Take a look at where you can actually let go of having everything that you want in a relationship. And again, this isn't about settling for less. You're going to find that this actually builds and strengthens the relationship and the partnership in there. And look at holding, again, that ground where They're giving where you're giving. Find some balance in things. And if you're not seeing the balance in there, find ways to create it. Because in these days and times, it is so, so important to keep these connections. Take care, everybody, and I will see you soon in about a month.